This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Go to BetUS and enter the code YouTube150 for 150% match on your first deposit and 125% on your next two. Just remember to please gamble responsibly. What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another post-game, day after game reaction report, talking about the Seahawks' improbable, ugly win over the New York Jets. 26-21. They get it done, but boy, there's a lot to break down in this game. Probably the most ugliest win I've seen in quite a while. So usually on a post-game report like this, I like to break it down with the good, the bad, the ugly, usually starting with the good, but I want to flip it around because there's so much more ugly to talk about, and I want to end on a good note. So I'm going to talk about the ugly, the bad, and then end with the good, because there is a lot of good in this game, but a heck of a lot more ugly. So again, my name is NorbCam, Norb Kawili. You can follow me here on Bleacher Report, as well as on my socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and on Facebook. I'd appreciate it very much. All right, so let's just get into this game, 26-21. I just want to, I think it really helps to understand how ugly this was when you recap exactly how big the hole was that the Seahawks found themselves in, just the way the scoring flow went in just that crazy first half. So Seattle got the ball first. They had a little drive going, then they got stopped, had a punt. Jets, I think, went 3 and out, had to punt. Seahawks got the ball back. They had to punt. And then the Jets went on an 80-yard drive with the touchdown. PAT was blocked by Leonard Williams, one of his first great plays of the game. So it was a 6-0 game. Then right immediately after that, the Seahawks kick return team started having their issues. Williams fumbled it. Jets get it back. They go 27 yards for the second touchdown. So then it becomes 14-0. So we're in a 2-score hole, but watching the game with my dad, and he's saying, no, it's okay. It's the first quarter. Seattle always plays better in the second half, which is true. So much true in this game. So it's 14-0. We're thinking, all right, well, we'll come back for this. Shenault fumbles on his kick return on the ensuing kick. Luckily, recovers it. And then the Seahawks go on a nice, long 88-yard drive to make the game 14-7. You're thinking, okay, we've overcome those little blunders. Now we're back into this game. Immediately after that, the next play, the kick return by the Jets, they go 99 yards with a bunch of missed tackles, terrible coverage. They score. And it becomes immediately 21-7. They're going, okay, all that work, we're back to where we were. That's okay. We'll get the ball back, and then we'll try to get this back to where it was. Well, on that ensuing kickoff, Shenault fumbles again. He actually double fumbled. He fumbled the football after the catch. He's kind of rolling around. He scoops it up, dives, and then he fumbles it again. And when he hits the ground, but nobody's touched him. So he was never tackled. Ball goes rolling out. Jets recover again. And then you're thinking, oh man, we might go down 3 scores in this game. But luckily, the amazing started to happen. We are very fortunate because they were closing in on our end zone, having such great field position. Aaron Rodgers, strangely, misses a wide open, I believe it was Wilson, in the right corner of the end zone. Just had a double move, totally fooled our secondary. And all you had to do is put it in a place where he could catch it. And he overthrows him. He blamed the wind afterwards. Maybe that's true. It is a strangely windy stadium. But that play turned out to be key, because if they'd scored on that one, we would have been down 28-7 and possibly out of this game potentially for good, given the way things had been going. But they don't. So then the next ensuing play, that's when the magic starts to happen, and Leonard Williams begins the start of his amazing run of plays. So that becomes as we all seen if you're watching the game, the 92-yard pick six by Leonard Williams, and it takes it to the house. It was an amazing, amazing play, and got the Seahawks their second touchdown. Unfortunately, their point after touchdown was blocked, so the score was 21-13, down by 8. Then Seattle got the ensuing one. Luckily, didn't give up any touchdowns, no kick returns, got a 4th down stop. So Seattle got the ball with good field position. Weren't able to do much with it, but got close enough that Jason Myers able to hit in the cold and the wind, 54-yard field goal. And that made the game a 21-16, so it was a 5-point game at that point. And yeah, after that, it became more of the Seahawks type of game, where the Jets never scored again. that kick return for a touchdown early in the second quarter was the last time the Jets would get into the end zone or score any points for that matter. The Seahawks would force a fumble. They'd get the ball back, set up a 43-yard field goal by Jason Myers, making it a 21-19 game. And then in the fourth quarter, Seattle, with the final chance to put the nail in the coffin after much back and forth, went on a 71-yard drive to take the lead with a touchdown run by Zach Charbonnet. But they finally were able to get the ball. We'll talk a little about what happened earlier in one of the most ugliest goal line situations by our offense. But the final, after that touchdown, was 26-21, takes the lead by 5, but Aaron Rodgers still had a chance to try to get a game-winning touchdown with a lot of time left. But once again, Leonard Williams, did I say Jason Williams? Leonard Williams. I used to get the name mixed up. Leonard Williams would go in on one of the biggest plays of the game to really seal it for Seattle. 3rd and 10, ball around the, 25-ish yard line. 3rd down 10, Williams penetrates the inside, gets to the quarterback, gets the sack, forces basically the final play of the game, which inevitably becomes an incomplete pass with pressure from Kobe Bryant, safety on a blitz. And the Seahawks would win this game by the skin of our teeth. And in much disbelief, really, 26-21, we somehow pulled that game off. So that was how bad it started. I don't know about you guys, but that has been probably one of the ugliest, most unbelievable flow of events in a first half I've seen in a long time, especially with the special teams playing as badly as they had. I mean, what they gave up in terms of fumbles, getting a quick kick return for a touchdown, getting a PAT blocked. Man, that was just huge. A deficit to come back from. But, I guess that's why the Jets are where they are, because they're just not a very good team. They're actually a better defense than I think a lot of people were giving them credit for. It's just their offense has been pretty putrid. Aaron Rodgers has not been very good. He was not very good in that game. And despite having, Devontae Adams and a pretty good running back, decent weapons, but they've just not been very good on offense. We got people watching on the chat. Cam Dieter says, with Lockett having a smaller and smaller role in the offense, it's good to see JSN stepping up. I almost see him as the next coming of Doug Baldwin. Absolutely. He's very much so. Smart route runner. He's the kind of guy that rarely drops footballs. I can count on one small hand the number of times he's actually dropped footballs, but pretty surefire. He's pretty good with the run after the catch, but he just finds a way to get open. And he's been clutch, especially the last 3 weeks, really throughout the year, but the last 3 weeks, he's had some big games. This game, he was once again the leading receiver. And SWDDX, so many flags on the Jets. Yeah, I didn't mention it on that 71-yard drive that became the game-winning drive for Seattle to take the lead 26-21. I don't know how many times the Jets did us favors, and when it looked like they'd stopped us, whether it be would have been 4th and 6, then they have too many men on the field, making it 4th and 1. And then they get the stop and 4th down. They get called for a horse collar to keep the drive alive. And then I think there's another penalty later down the line. I can't remember what it was, but we definitely, I think they're all legit calls, but if you're a Jets fan, I'm sure you're thinking, man, the refs just want Seattle to win this game. But nonetheless, they took advantage of those opportunities and finally punched it in. When they finally got goal to go, and it was Zach Charbonnet. Who would have thought he'd be the one to get the game winner? Terrell Byers says, it doesn't matter. We need to win next week. Well, it does matter. The fact that we won this game was huge because it kept our distance in the rest of the NFC West. We are alone, sole possession right now in the NFC West. Not a tie score. It's literally we're up a game. But it is true. We do need to win next week, because if the Cardinals come back and tie us, well, then we're right back into a tie game situation with the division records right neck and neck. And we would be in a so much better position if we can win this game. The division game is obviously always so crucial, and a rematch with them this coming Sunday, second time in 3 weeks is crazy. Can we replicate what we did the first time? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit too. SWDDX, that one drive where we couldn't score at the 1 yard line made me flip. I didn't talk about that yet because I'm saving that for the next comment, little breakdown. But yeah, that drove me crazy. I thought for sure we were going to lose that game. Cam Dieter, in your opinion, what has been the major breakdowns in the red zone offense? Well, it ties in. Well, I'm going to talk about that. Let's talk about it right now. All right. So to sum up the woes of the first half, 3 fumbles on kick returns, 2 that were lost, gave up a kick return for a touchdown. We blocked a PAT, but we also got blocked. So they kind of negated each other. And then to add to that, Michael Dixon got hurt. I don't even know what happened, but he was on the sideline getting his back looked at. And basically he was unavailable, which is kind of actually helped the Seahawks in that final scoring drive, because I think if he had been available, they probably would have punted, and they probably would have had to have the defense rise up again. And who knows, if defense doesn't get the stop, we lose that game. So in some ways, it forced Seattle to have to keep going because they weren't going to punt the football. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise that Michael Dixon couldn't go because they had no choice. What else here? What are the other uglies? Like, this is not ugly, but this is something that people never appreciate enough. Jason Myers having a hell of a season. He hit a 54 and a 43-yard field goal. Both of those we needed to have in order to get this win. And that was no easy task. In a windy stadium in the cold, where the kicks weren't going very far in the first place, he hits a 54-yarder. I didn't even think that was a good idea at the time. Like, well, man, can he really make this thing? He's not even kicking into the end zone on the kickoffs, yet somehow he nailed that one and the 43-yarder. If he doesn't hit either of those two, we lose that game. So shout out to Jason Myers. Kicker never gets enough love. They only get the blame when things go bad. They don't get enough credit when things go good. So Jason Myers having himself a year. And Dixon as well. It's too bad he's hurt. I hope it's not a long-term injury. Cam Dieter says DJ Reed was big mad on Twitter afterwards, blamed the refs for the. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, he used F-bomb, a modified F-bomb, blaming the refs for that game. And he'll probably see a little check or a little bill in the mail for that one. But yeah, we had games where we've blamed the refs, and it sucks when you have to blame the refs, because it usually means that, you probably didn't take care of business on other areas, the fact that you have to blame the refs for it. But, it's nice to be on the other side of that argument. All right. So one of those ugly, well, let's go to the bad. So that was the ugly. This is still bad. Kind of ugly, but just the bad. So my focus is on the offense. All right. So here's a few notes for you. The Seahawks have not scored an opening touchdown on their opening drive since week 3 against the Dolphins. That's the last time they had an opening touchdown on the first drive of the game. Way back in week 3. We're in week 14 coming up now. That's terrible. So that means we're always typically playing from behind, playing catch up, definitely not taking the lead, unless it was the defense doing it. But yeah, something's got to be fixed there. Our offense is it's not encouraging to be where we're at. Here's the stats on the offense, which wasn't really all that bad. I mean, well, here you go. 20 for 31 by Gino. 3 sacks for 31 yards. That's not good. Rushing, 23 attempts for 84 yards. That's less than 4 yards a carry. That's not good. In the red zone, we're 2 out of 3. But we'll talk about the one. And that's the one where we had, I think it was 8 tries to get into the end zone with the ball first and goal at the 4-yard line. I was thinking, okay, I know we suck at short yardage, but we've got to score here. But we don't. We get to third down, but what happens when 3 attempts on third down? But there's a penalty. Refs bail us out again. It's first and goal, pass interference called on the defender on DK Metcalf. So first and goal at the 1, right? If you're a playoff team, you gotta get this 1 or 2 tries, right? They try to run it, they get stuffed. They try to pass it, it's broken up. Pass it again, it's broken up, but then they get another penalty, so they get an extra bonus try because they're lined up in the neutral zone. Still can't get in, and then finally do this crazy pass play. Gino rolls around, runs around, and he goes backwards like 14 yards. Don't score. I was so mad. I'm sure you guys were pissed off too, but that is just inexcusable to not be able to push it. Just go quarterback sneak 4 times. And I think just by falling forward, he's going to get at least a few inches, and eventually you'll cross the line. At least you won't go backwards. But that's how little Ryan Grubb has faith in this offensive line to be able to push. And can't blame him, because every time we've had these short yardage situations, how often has that line just not been able to move the pile? They just push back, and we've failed more often than we've succeeded on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We lost games because of that. We lost that Rams game because we couldn't convert a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. And I don't know the solution to that one. I have some other ideas for how we can at least address the passing game. But the running game, I mean, that's a tough one, right? Because we have good running backs. Kenneth Walker is a great running back. You know, Charbonnet's all right too. Kenneth Walker is the man, though. And we have both these guys for the last couple of years. We go, man, if we can get both those guys healthy in the same season, we're going to destroy people. Well, we have 2 of them healthy all year, and we're far from destroying people. And it's just the state of our offensive line, even though we've changed so many positions. We had our second center in there. We've had our 3rd guard in there. We've had, Abe Lucas back at right tackle thinking, it's going to get better. Well, it hasn't gotten much better, at least not in the run game. So it's been tough. Terrell Byers, Cross has been so poor this year. Yeah, he hasn't been. He's probably not the worst of the offensive linemen, but he has not been great, and he definitely gave up some bad blocks, pass protection. But man, I think it's just like they all take their turn, and the tight ends too. They're not exactly the best blockers either, and they should be, because 2 of those guys were brought in to be blockers. Farrell Brown and AJ Barner really are blocking tight ends first, and then pass catchers second, and yet it seems like if one guy's not blowing it, somebody else is blowing it. And it was Christian Haynes, though, 3rd round pick, not being able to lock down a starting position. He goes in for the injured Anthony Bradford. And then the next game, it's Satao Laumea coming in to start in place of him. So Christian Haynes is clearly not doing enough to earn himself the right guard position. I was hoping he would. So Laumea, I don't know, he did all right, but still, that goal line could not get the push. And so it is what it is, right? We're not going to be reinventing. We're not changing. And we've used everything. We've tried everything to try to address that offensive line. And it is what it is now. We're not getting anything new here. We've gotten the entire tool shed. The toolbox is laid on the table. It's like, okay, which one do you want to go here? We're going to use the Phil screwdriver, the flathead. I don't know. But what more can you do, right? We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there. But yeah, the penalties by the Jets, that 80-yard drive, 12 men on the field, horse collar tackle, the pass interference, offside. Yeah, they gave us multiple chances, but thank goodness that it worked out in our favor. Let's see. Left runs have been destroyed, says Terrell. Cam Dieter, DK was 4 for 9 for 66 yards, hasn't had a touchdown since the Falcons game. And if you bring that up because you're trying to downplay DK's effectiveness, don't. Because what it is he's getting all the attention, right? They had Sauce Gardner on DK pretty much the whole game, and he's a good corner, right? You're not going to get a lot of plays on him, but he did have a couple of big plays in the second half, one over Sauce's head, didn't even see it coming, and then another one shortly thereafter that should have been a touchdown. That play that led to the goal line, 8 attempts that didn't get punched in. That should have been a touchdown. Gino, I think, had to throw off his back foot because of the pressure. So DK had a step on the defender, and he had to wait for it and basically got tackled at the 4. And unfortunately, if he gets that on the run, he's in the touchdown. We don't even talk about how bad their red zone offense is. But so he had a couple of big plays, but it's the tension that he draws that allows Lockett and particularly JSN the ability to get free, because they can't double on any of those guys. So DK being in there, even if he doesn't get yardage, he's still helping the team. It's just more for people who are like, man, DK sucks. I got on my fantasy team and he's not doing anything for me. Well, too bad. It's for the Seahawks. He's still a weapon that they have to pay attention to, because they know that he can take over a game if they don't draw the resources to him. Let's see, Cam Dean. I wonder how much of that is him focusing inside to help Tomlinson, though. Yeah, Tomlinson is the old guy who's only here for a year. It'll be interesting to see what they do to address the left guard position. Fant pisses me off with the blocks. Yeah, he had one that he totally missed on. I was like, oh, dude, he'd like just let the dude run right by him. Cam Dean, do we move on from Lockett this offseason? there's a lot of talk that this could be it for him. I haven't looked at his contract situation. I can't remember if he's still got a year left, or if this is it in the end of his contract, he's probably done. He's very close to being out the door, especially the way that he's being utilized these days. I'd say it's probably greater than 50-50 chance that he's not back, but he's still good possession receiver, but he's like just a smaller, slower version of JSN, but he can still catch the football. Okay, let's talk something positive here. All right, I've been talking about all negative for the last 20 minutes, but there was some great moments here, and particularly what has been great and really has been great for the last 4 games is this Seahawks defense. Right, we've all been waiting for it to come to form, and we finally have seen it. Really, in the last 4 games, we've won the last 3. We should have won the last 4. The defense was already on point when we played the Rams, pretty much locking them down for most of the game, but unfortunately getting lost in overtime. That should never have happened. But to me, the defense has been back since that Rams game. So 4 weeks to me, the defense has been slowly coming together. And this game was, while it wasn't perfect and they had some letdowns, they still, again, held the Jets scoreless after the 10-minute mark in the second quarter. They never scored again. And most of those were gifts by Seattle. So this game shouldn't have even been this close, but the defense was doing pretty much everything they could do. But really, it's the, shut down the Jets after that second quarter. This is everything Mike Macdonald has been wanting to try to form. I think what happened was he was trying to implement his style of defense, but he didn't have the personnel, and they didn't really have everything fundamentally set. So they had to simplify things. So they didn't do all their kind of trickery that they're now able to do. Gave up 258 yards, 169 passing, 89 rushing, forced 2 turnovers. One of them was a pick 6. The other one was a fumble jarred loose by Julian Love on a critical play recovered by Tyrese Knight. And yeah, while there was something, Job, not crazy about Job in the corner position there. He's doing all right, but, I think Rick Woolen is playing up to form. He had a really nice pass defense early on what would have been a long pass. Did give up a 4th down play. Want to see him play a little tighter on there, but Julian Love really stands out. Witherspoon, can't say enough of what this guy's doing on the ball as well as away from the ball. But and as a whole, linebackers, I still feel like Ernest Jones, the tandem of him and Tyrese Knight, man, they've been locked in. The total opposite of what it was in the beginning of the season when they jettisoned those 2 linebackers that they acquired over in the offseason. Those guys have been playing great. And, of course, the D-line's coming together, Boye Mafe getting in there with some action, but really, seeing Byron Murphy get in on some action. There's a funny play where Byron Murphy was late he was like, get out of here. And he's jogging onto the field, barely even, not even a third of the way in the field. The ball snapped and he runs in, not even set. And he's able to be part of the tackle. But he's contributing as well. But man, can't say enough about Leonard Williams. He better be the defensive player of the week. He should have gotten it last week, really. I mean, Kobe Bryant, great pick 6, but man, I think Leonard Williams was pissed that he didn't get it last week. So he was determined to get it this week. He has to get it this week. I mean, he had 2 sacks, the pick 6, blocked field goal, a blocked PAT, some tackles for losses, and I didn't know this, but that was the longest pick 6 return by a lineman in NFL history, 92 yards. Because those dudes usually don't get that far, or if they do, they get it in a short part of the field and they only have to go a few yards. But to go 92 yards, I mean, that's a long ways. That dude was moving 17 miles an hour, big guy, and I think by the end of it, he was just dead, dead to the world, collapsed in the end zone, and then he was just huffing and puffing, inhaling oxygen on the sideline. And the bad part about a pick 6 is that, and after they'd gone down that length of the field, actually, well, it was a short field, but the fact that he ran the length of the field, he got to go right back out on the field again because it's like ball goes right back to the opponent, and so he's like, "I'll be there in a second," trying to get in there, and he finally does. But man. That was a heck of a play. In fact, I was watching this game, and if you ever watch me on YouTube, I live stream the games from either inside the stadium or here in my studio. I was watching it with my dad, and this is what the pick 6 looked like from my perspective when it happened, and it's a crucial part of the game. We need a big play. We need to limit it to a field goal. Ball picking! Picked off! Go the other way! Come on, go! He's gonna take it! Come on, don't run out of here! He's going to take it to the house. Leonard Williams with the touchdown pick six. Oh my God. We have the big play. Leonard Williams comes up big again.
I told you.
Oh my God. That was great. That was the relief because I thought the game was going to be coming to an end that early if the Jets had actually scored. So that was a game-saving play. So Leonard Williams better be the defensive player of the week. Yeah, a lot of fun. So if you ever want to watch my live streams, just check it out on YouTube at NorbCam. A couple of other comments here. Let's see. Terrell Byers said, Lucas is our saving grace. 3-0. We got to keep pushing. You know, having Dave Lucas definitely has been a little more solid on the right tackle position, but we still need to get better play from our center and our guards too. Cam Dieter asking, do we move on from Lockett this offseason? Yeah, we'll see. He says he's got another year or two, but we would save north of 17 mil. I don't know, maybe open to restructuring. I know that the Eyes can do certain things to get the money off the books, but still get paid, convert it into a signing bonus or whatever. So we'll see how it goes. I still think he's got value, though. I mean, it's not like he's not performing. It's just he doesn't get as many targets, but that's because JSN is getting the bulk of them now, DK. Okay, so... yeah, other positions that were good. 8 leading tackle was Ernest Jones with 8 tackles, 6 solo tackles. Julian Love, 6 solo, 6 tackles. Leonard Williams, like I said, 4 tackles, 3 solo, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. And I just want to pull up this, kind of show you how good this defense has really become. But if you look at, this is a breakdown of how the defense has done over the course of the year. And we know we had after that we started on a hot 3-0 start. So 231 yards in the win over the Broncos. Gave up 310 to New England. That's when they're running the ball and getting the tight end and all kinds of balls. Then, of course, we only gave up to 205 to the Dolphins, who were struggling then. Then things got ugly here. Detroit in a shootout gave up 389. The Giants, this game, 420 yards to the freaking Giants, 483 yards to the Niners in that ugly primetime game. Then Atlanta, we got the win here. We did give up a boatload of yards, but it was the turnovers and the sacks and that really kind of allowed us to dominate this game, even though they put up a lot of yards. Then, of course, the Buffalo Bills game, one of the worst, next to the 49ers game, 445 yards, really never stood a chance in that game. And then the Rams game, this is when I think the defense started to come together. Now, granted, they still gave up a lot of yards here, but the key thing here is look at the points, right? So the first 3 games, 20, 23, and we were 3-0, right? So when we were 20 points or less, we were undefeated. And then lose 42 points, 29 points, 36 points, 14 points, we win. 31 points, 26. Now 26 here, kind of misleading because we gave up a pick 6. So really, the Rams only scored 19 on defense or on offense. So they only gave up 19. So should have won that game, but it doesn't come out because of the way the turnovers turned out and the red zone errors. So again, sub 20 here, should have been a win. Then 49ers, 17 points, Cardinals, 6 points. And again, the Jets, if not for the kick return for a touchdown, that should have been 14. So we have been the defense has been sub 20 since the Rams game, which I said when the defense finally came back and started showing what they were supposed to be. So, and the yardage, from where we were in the 400s and the 300s, look at this, 277, 298. We've been able to keep the opponents under 300 yards, with the exception of the Rams game. It's been under 300, so under sub 20 and sub 300 for the last 3 games. That's a good trend, and really the benefit of now that Michael McDonald is able to do what he wants to do, and it feels like the fundamentals are solid. He's able to do things like what allowed Leonard Williams to become free was the fact that he's now they're doing those trickeries, which we are so famous for, of confusing quarterbacks. And Aaron Rodgers is an old timer, right? He's 40 years old. He's seen everything. But Leonard Williams, when he talked about how he got that pick, is that he charged in, made contact with the guard, I believe. And as soon as he did that, the instruction was then you back up and go into coverage. So that way, when Aaron Rodgers is watching what he's doing, he sees him engage the guard. So he thinks, okay, he's just going to rush. I just have to not worry about him getting to me. Well, then he drops back and he's already looking away from his position, looking for the slant because we are at cover 0. There's no safety back there. So he thinks if I hit that slant, and he gets in there. There's no one in the middle of the field to cover. It's a touchdown. Well, he doesn't see Leonard Williams slide out from his inside position, get the big mid on the ball, tap it up to himself, and take it to the house. So, again, that's just a simple example of what Michael McDonald wants to do with this defense when he's able to really confuse and move things around and get tricky with it. Even at the end of the game, when he rushed the safety and dropped, the linebacker deep, and just never predictable. That's becoming less and less predictable as the year goes along. So anyway, the defense. I feel like this is not a fluke. The defense is here. It's here to stay, and it's going to get better when we get Uchenna Nwosu back. Hopefully, I don't know what the status is, but I know he was starting to practice last week, so maybe we'll get him back for this Cardinals game. That would be huge. Add another pass rusher to this already highly pressuring defensive line. So we are going to get a piece back there that's going to help a lot. So moving forward, what is this really? What is it going to take? Because we're in first place. We're a game up in the division. And now we can really start talking seriously about, okay, well, what does this mean? How do we maintain this position? And how do we create a team that's going to be competitive if we do get to the playoffs? Well, obviously the defense is good enough to where it's almost there. It's playoff level defense. It may not be Super Bowl caliber, but it's definitely playoff winnable defense right now. So that turns the ball over to, our kicking game is good. Our kickoff, I think a little tweaks. I mean, it's kind of fluky. I don't think we're going to get that kind of, knock on wood, we're not going to have that kind of multi-fumbling performance. At least we better not in the future. But that goes back to the offense. So what is the problem with how do we get a faster start? How do we improve the running game? How do we get out of our own way? One positive was Geno did not throw an interception in this game. I know it sounds like, well, shouldn't that be an expected thing? But considering that he's thrown one almost every game and usually in the red zone, at least he didn't have a pick. That's improvement. But still, so much more needs to be improved on. So how can the passing game be better? I do think that two things that Geno has some control over, and what the offensive coordinator Grubb needs to work out with him. Geno needs to be a little quicker on his decision-making, because there are times when he has guys open, but they flash open for just a second. But he's just got to, I think he waits, and I don't know if he's just afraid to throw an interception, so he hesitates and doesn't let the ball go. And then by the time he does, it's too late. The guy's covered. So he's got to trust and hit those windows when they get open. That would help him in terms of avoiding sacks and just keeping the team on time. I watched a little bit of the Russell Wilson game where the Steelers dominated. I said dominated, but they definitely put on the whooping on the Bengals when all was said and done. But Russ looked good in this game. But what I noticed about him is he was getting rid of the ball quickly, and because he can't run around and elude like he used to, but he did a lot of quick passes. He was decisive. He did utilize the checkdowns often, and that's something I feel like we could do more of. One thing that the Cardinals did really well, probably the best thing that they did against us in that win 2 weeks ago, was their tight end McBride was killing us. He had 100+ yards. I mean, he was their only weapon. But a lot of times what they would do, he would block for a while, and then he would just leak out and be uncovered. I'm sure the Seahawks will address that going into this game against the Cardinals on Sunday. But we should play a little bit of that game. Let our tight ends block for a bit and leak out, and maybe they'll find themselves open to get 5 or 6 yards, or maybe more would run after the catch. Same thing with the checkdowns, as I saw them doing with Russ and the Steelers. K9, they did a little bit of this against the Cardinals, and these running backs are good enough that you get them in open space. I like our chances that they're gonna break a tackle or two, and if not get at least 5 or 6 yards, get a first down, or maybe even break one for long. So a lot of times I feel like these plays that we have are just slow developing plays and not enough quick options for Geno to just get the ball out, because Grubb's got to know his offensive line is not going to give him a ton of time. So you got to have something set so when that breakdown happens, he can quickly get rid of the football and not wait for those big plays to open up. That's why DK's having a hard time getting a lot of big plays, because it takes a while for those guys to get open. So I still think they got to try to do it, but all is predicated and this is what had led to the success later in the second half against the Jets, was we started to get the running game going. And when we did, that did open up the play action passing. And I think that's the problem, is Seattle's slow to getting the run set up, because our running game has just, in general, been pretty putrid. So I don't know what it is. In a lot of these games, they don't get it going until later in the game. But offensively, we haven't had any... we just have not been able to run the football very effectively. And I hear some stats for you. Just going from the game from the start. I mean, look at this, like 146 start, 46, 100, 133, 102, 52, 100, 32, 107 before the break. That was the Rams game. And since the bye week, we have not had a 100-yard rushing game since 94, 65, 84. Yet we still found a way to win, but that's because the defense has been playing so locked down. But we have not had a 100-plus yard game, and we did have one against the rest of the Rams game right there. We had 107, but again, we went to overtime, and we lost because of other issues. So how can we get the running game going? I think that's the biggest quandary that we find ourselves in as Seahawks fans. I'm sure the coaches are trying to figure out, because the offensive line is what it is. The running backs are great. Our tight ends, and we're utilizing what we have in them. So how do we get more out of the running game, given that these are the pieces that we have? And I scratch my head, because can you scheme up more runs? At some point, you just got to block better and open up holes. And if your line just isn't doing that, how do we get these great running backs better opportunities? I mean, they try to go outside, they try to go off tackle, they try to go up the middle. And so many times it's like 1 yard, 2 yard, negative. How many negative runs did we see yesterday? -5 on some plays, -3, -2. And of course, the ugly goal line, first and goal at the 4, first and goal at the 1, cannot get a freaking yard. If you can't get in the end zone when at first and goal at the 1, you're definitely not a playoff winning team. And that's really, sadly, the biggest thing. And it's not, to me, it's still not Geno Smith that is the issue. It's everything else. So the running game is just an example of how the line has just been the problem. And I don't know, would a different coordinator be able to get more out of this unit? I don't know. I don't know if there's a scheme that's just better. Like I said, I feel like passing games are solutions there, but when it comes to the run, a lot of times it's your guys against their guys and opening up holes. And it's one thing that you look at all these great teams that are leading their divisions and are looking like, playoff teams, they all have a complementary running game to it. Most of these teams, I didn't do the research, but I'm sure if you looked it up here like this, you would probably find that most of them have teams where their running game is putting up 100-plus yards. That's my goal for this team, is that in this last stretch of games, we can be closer to 100-yard minimum, 100 yards a game running. And that's not just one guy, I'm just total yards. That's between 2 running backs and a quarterback running, that we hit 100. I think that's the minimum you got to get. But obviously, in a dream, you start getting Ken Walker, 100 yards a game. I mean, that would be huge. That means your team is probably getting around 130 yards a game. But we're far from that. I mean, Walker alone is probably still only getting like 40, 50, maybe 60 yards. I mean, that's about half of what you'd want him to be getting. So this one thing, I sadly, I don't know if that's probably the biggest key for us to have success moving forward beyond just winning the division. But to compete against teams like the Vikings and the Packers, we've got to be able to run the football like those teams can do. And right now we're not doing it. And I just don't know where the solution is on that. You could replace Geno Smith, right? Let's just say, and for all the Geno haters out there, you just put a new quarterback in there. But if you can't run the football, if we're running the football with the same efficiency, regardless of who's at quarterback, that's just a lot of pressure for the quarterback to try to make up for when your running game is so unproductive. So that's why they get paid the big bucks. So they've got to figure out a way where they get that yards per carry or yards per game up to the 100 level and up. Because if we're still running for less than 100 yards a game leading into the end of this season, we probably aren't going to win the division. And if we do, we're definitely not going very far. So we've got to find a way to get that to be more productive. Because we can do that, I feel like we'll score some touchdowns in the first quarter, maybe on the first drive, and just be more in control of games. But right now it feels like we're constantly playing from behind, trying to catch up, and Geno having to throw our way back into a game. And that's just not a recipe for success. Doesn't matter who your quarterback is. You've got to have a running game to help the quarterback succeed. So, but how do we do it? I don't have the answers to that. I don't know if you guys do, but that is what we are stuck with here. So anyway, but as much as that is to despair where our running game is, you got to feel good about the fact that we are sitting here in first place in the NFC West. I'm sure nobody thought that was going to happen. Nobody thought the 49ers would be down at the bottom of the division, looking like the team that's out. And I think what I'm appreciative about this is, while some people, I still drives me crazy when I hear people saying, oh, we should just tank and get a draft pick next year. It's like, we're already got 7 wins. I mean, the best we're going to do is get mid-round picks. That's not going to get you some game-changing quarterback anyway. So as a guy who goes to all the games at home, for the most part, I like having these relevant games in December. I like the fact that right now it feels like the playoffs started like 3 weeks ago. Nothing better than playoff football. Nothing better than playoff importance games late in the year, and the chance to be in the top of your division and to be playing for the playoffs. You're crazy if you want to just tank the season so you can get a better draft pick. It just drives me crazy when people think that that's what you should do. Now, it's one thing if you're the Jets or the Bears and you're already out of it by November or early December, and it's like, well, maybe we should just tank because it's pretty much a lost cause and there's nothing good happening here. But when you've got this going, you gotta run with it, man. You gotta take advantage of these moments, because you just never know how long they're gonna last, and you never know what might happen, what fire will catch. And it's just like the defense coming together in this last 4 weeks. They are playing at a level where they could sustain this team, and even if the offense isn't performing at the highest level, the defense can keep us into games. And that means we always have a chance. And with this offense, as bad as they are on the run, Geno is particularly good when it comes to the end of halves, especially in the last few minutes of the game, and in the second half. I wish they could just, again, I joked that they should have this a hypnotist come into their mind, and from the get-go of the game, they're already playing like it's 2 minutes left. We'd probably be scoring touchdowns in every first possession. But so I'm loving this right now. As ugly as that game was, there's nothing better than getting an ugly win, because then you still feel like the team knows you got to look and figure out what's wrong, because you got a lot of learning lessons there, but you got the win at the same time. So no one's going to come out of this going, yeah, we're all that because we just kicked everybody's butt. No, you're lucky to get that win. So we go to Arizona. I'm sure we're not going to put the lockdown on them at home, in their home, like we did the first time around, hold them to 2 field goals. And 49 yards of rushing for James Conner, and Kyler Murray only getting 9 yards. Yeah, as good as our defense, I feel, is, they're not going to be able to replicate that level. But we've just got to keep it from getting ugly, keep ourselves in the game, and give the offense a chance to win, and just to be a little bit better running the football. Don't turn the ball over, and just, a little bit better execution. Because I think the core of our offense is good enough to win if they don't make the mistakes and just have a little bit of a bump in the running game. Is that too much to ask? Come on, Seahawks, you can do this thing. But 3 games in a row, Seattle in first place, in control of their own destiny. What more could you ask for? Except a running game. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Again, my name is Norb Kawili, NorbCam. You can find me here. I would love if you follow me on my socials right down below: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and on Facebook as well. Till next time, y'all take care. Have a great week. Happy holidays, and go Hawks.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.